Welcome to the Smart Nonsense Podcast, where we peek in the audio every time and also talk about
self-development, entrepreneurship, and challenging norms. I was just saying before we got on, we're not redoing it. I was just saying before we got on here, people need to go on YouTube. They need to watch these because we're going to have the brain dead meter where someone blacks out and it's just like,
that was a massive blackout.
Womp, womp, womp.
That was like a blackout in like 3 inches of water where you're like, that's embarrassing. You
drown in the bathtub.
You don't want that. It's like there's a script, and the second I deviated from the script and tried to get a little clever, fuck, everything.
Well, that was like
shit.
a couple episodes when I tried to introduce the idea of teaching Gen Z. I short-circuited.
We can't teach Gen Z, dude.
Hey, did you say what episode it is?
I didn't get past that. Welcome back again. Okay, this is the earliest. All night. This is the. I haven't.
Hold on.
slept.
Let me paint a picture. No one knows what yelling Nibby means. Let me paint a picture.
Nibby's got the nonsense. Okay, sorry. Okay. Paint a picture. Paint it.
I wake up at the same time every day. I have for a long time.
Fuck yeah.
I go through this elaborate morning routine to get ready for the day. I'm like reading. I'm like warming up the juices, drinking a lot of coffee. I come out this morning. I was up about 6:45. I turned my phone on about 7. I'm rolling around. And then I've got like 15 messages from Pop, and they're from like 6:30 in the morning. And then I scroll up, and there's other messages from like 2 a.m. at night. I'm like, what's going on here?
The boy don't sleep.
I come out. You're wearing this exact thing. You're sitting on the couch in my spot, in my morning spot, and you're just working. And now we're at the studio at 9 in the morning.
Here's what happened.
Recording a pod.
You left for 2 weeks, and I buckled the fuck up. I'm like, let me get legit. Let me figure out life. No, actually, I can't sleep.
It's that simple.
I want to. I don't know if I'm really excited. A lot of crazy shit's going down.
Is it untold stuff? It's probably untold stuff. We're gonna get into it.
We got a lot of goodies. This is one of those where. Why do we have so much tea right now? A lot of tea coming through.
Because we have problems.
My brain's racing. I wanted to talk about 15 things at once. We're treating this as the video diary, or at least that's how I want to treat it, because we have so much that we want to talk about. Why are we doing this? No one listens to this shit. Actually, a couple hundred people tend to listen to these, which is fun. But cool. I like the archive. I want to make a dope documentary when we're like 2045. When that time comes, that's when we drop our documentary about how we grew this massive $100 billion company. Either $100 company or $1 billion company, either or, it's gonna crash and burn, or it's gonna be the best. But I just want that record. And so here we're like, we have so many juicy nuggets. Y'all don't realize we were recording like once a month, and that was like the highlight reel of what we could remember. But our day to day is so fucking nuts. Like we would miss a fucking exceptional amount of stuff when we only shoot once a month. So we're basically like, we just got to shoot all the time, because every conversation we have is like, oh, this could be useful to someone, or this is at least interesting for us in the future to reflect back and see what we were thinking in these key moments in the company, which happen every single day.
And if documenting stuff is so easy, why not?
I know.
That's why the podcast started.
Right. So that was yesterday, building out the systems. We have this, we got the aircraft carrier.
Ooh, that's a good one.
We got the pirate. I wasn't even going to bring that up, but then hey, that's how the conversation riffed. We're splitting the company. We're kind of like fracturing into two main
factions.
I don't want to like pit them against each other.
Right.
But we got your aircraft carrier, which is your super fucking carrier machine that's just like a behemoth beast that's just running on a schedule, pumping out airplane after airplane, just ripping. And those are our clips just flying, taking off. Who knows? Maybe they'll go to the moon.
Air traffic control. They're like, do this, do that, go there. Fire the rockets.
Right. And then we have our pirates.
Wait. And that's all our that's all our client work. That's people paying us a lot of money to do their work.
Smart Nonsense Media. Not much fucking around. That's just like, let's just rip. This is the machine. But the pirates, those are those scallywags, scurvy-loving people that we just throw on these creaky wooden boats, and we're like, hey.
Do they love scurvy? Or do they just get it?
Hey, you know a funny little story? Captain... There's a lot of captains. I want to say Captain Hook, but it's definitely not Captain Hook. He's a fictional character. Captain Cook. I said Hook. I said Hook. Captain Cook. I think it's Cook. Okay, one of those.
Captain Phillips.
No. I didn't know. Okay. I want to say he. Was he the guy from England? I don't know. But everyone was getting scurvy back then. But it was like, hey, you don't want to like go out to sea and get fucking scurvy because you don't have enough vitamin C?
Vitamin C.
Yeah, vitamin C. You don't have
Citric
enough.
acid.
They had no idea why. All they knew was like a lot of people were fucking dying on these long ass voyages around the world. And he's like, I don't want my men dying because then I'm going to die because I got no one to run the ship. So what they realized is this sauerkraut. Sauerkraut has it's packed with vitamin C. I think the Dutch make it. I don't know who the fuck makes it, but somehow they figured it out. But no one wanted to eat this shit because it looked terrible. And it's like, you know, like the cool kids don't want to do like the cool new thing. Like, it's kind of like they thought they were badass and like, yeah, tell us what you're going to make us eat, like fucking Brussels sprouts.
Oh,
like,
right.
We're not going to eat that shit.
Right.
That was the vibe. So he's like, how do I get my whole crew to now eat this sauerkraut? Because otherwise we're all going to die. If they eat it, we'll live and we can like explore the world. So you know what would you do in this circumstance?
Oh, I know the answer. So I'm not going to give you a good answer.
Hey, okay, I'll talk to the camera. What would you do? Okay.
Pause the video to find out.
Riddles. Oh, I had a tweet yesterday. That's the ultimate pregame, dude. Just rip it with the squad.
TEDx YouTube riddles.
God, they're fun. Some of them are too tough for our little brains, but a lot of them are just tangible enough. Belky, you give up pretty quickly, but we push through.
We do them at odd hours. It'll be like 8:30 p.m. We're about to turn off the TV, then we see one, and we're like, we should do the. I'm not fully in it.
Maybe that's a content bucket. Is just we live stream ourselves trying to solve riddles. Okay, so what does he do?
Short circuit.
Here's the riddle. Okay, you basically want the supposed like cool pirates don't want to eat your shit. So how do you make sauerkraut cool? Well, you're like the captain, and I don't know who else is the top dog on the pirate ship, but like these select 3 to 5 people. They're the only ones that can eat sauerkraut, and they have these closed doors. We eat it for dinner, but no one else gets it on the ship. And now everyone's like, "Yo, what the fuck? Why can't we get the sauerkraut? Like, I want the shit that I can't have. Give me that. Give me that." So they're demanding the sauerkraut, and guess what? Fucking, even though it tastes like shit and looks terrible, the whole ship's eating sauerkraut, and they're sailing in the high seas, ripping it up. I don't know if they were fucking stealing, looting, exploring, what they were doing, but they ripped it because they were all munching sauerkraut. There you go. How does that connect to anything? Well, our pirates. Was that the only connection? It was just pirate and sauerkraut?
You said scurvy loving pirates or something.
Oh, that's your fault.
It is my fault. Exactly.
You should have just let me keep ripping. But our pirates.
I like that story.
It's a nice little story. So we basically want the pirates to set sail, and our whole squatter marketing is actually, that's kind of a nice analogy. You know, like pirates are kind of like explorers, and they find these uncharted areas, and they like squat on
treasure chests.
Hey, I guess I'm like conquistador vibes. It's like we go to the New World, which is like the All In podcast, for example, and we just mark it as our own. We claim it, and we create all the clips. We build up the land. That's pretty much what we're doing with the Squatter Squad. So they're the pirates sailing around. Anytime we have All In, Naval is a new one, which that's kind of mentioning Nivy. We'll connect that in a second. But anyone else, kind of smart nonsense is included, but it's basically people that aren't paying that we just want to work with, and we just
any marketing or innovation.
Right. It's really we're using them for their distribution. Like they have a lot of views on all their content. They just haven't done video well, so that's where we come in.
And they're people we like, so they fall into that bucket of would you do this work or edit this content for free?
Such a great metric.
If the answer's like, and that's what's cool about, and maybe we should turn to Nivy and Naval, but they're like, hey guys, just do whatever you would be motivated to do.
Right.
Because they understand we're not going to want to edit anything beyond that.
Right. So for those of you that have been following the podcast for a while, I hope, hey, go back and listen. I don't know what episode this is from, but it might have been one on the rooftop. Might have been when we lost $240,000. I don't remember.
Because I think he's in that thumbnail. Naval.
Yeah, he could be. So that was when, I mean, we just had, every month there's like a new awesome person or like fucking a handful of them that come through. Naval was one of them back then. And specifically his like partner in crime, Nivi, they work on all their projects together. He co-founded Angel List, which is like how everyone can be an angel investor, I think.
Yeah, it's a platform for startups and angel investors.
So basically, they've been working together for a while. Naval he's a massive dude on Twitter in particular, 1.5 million followers, and he's just like the Yoda of the internet. So Nivi approached us and he's like, Henry or whoever, like, can you guys do some Naval content? We want to see what it looks like. And we had tried, like we tried to adapt our smart nonsense look, and it was like very cartoony, but cool, and like 3D. Like we'll put up some B-roll of like what we originally did. Hey, look at that. Watch this on YouTube. This is exactly what it looked like, but it wasn't quite on brand. For anyone that knows Naval's brand, it's super like the message is all that's important. He doesn't want his face. We had a lot of like animations. We had some goofy voices. It felt like a cartoon of Naval, and that's not what he wants to do. So we're like, hey, Nivi basically told us that, and we're like, yo, Nivi, totally understand. Right now, we just like can't crack the code on Naval's content, but we will circle back at some point in the future. Is it cool if we shoot you like the revised version? And he's like, yeah, for sure. And probably like it's probably 3 months later.
Yeah. We just never circled back up on it. Teams were full. People were moving around, or like it became an afterthought for a while.
But then like we started having a couple people available, and we're like, hey, let's circle back to Naval, because he is our idol. Like he's literally, if there's someone that we'd want to work for free forever, it's Naval. He was just foundational for all of this. He's like the Tim Ferriss. So we finally have someone that's free. We're like, yo, AJ, can you work on this? And then AJ kind of got busy, and we're like, fuck. Well, this new guy, Nico the Beast, SpongeBob Nico, he comes in, and I'm like, yo, AJ, can you see if Nico could work on this? Like, I don't know, he seems like a good editor, maybe he could. And AJ's like, yeah, let me just hit him up. I get a response like 5 minutes later. He's like, yeah, funny thing. You know how you're like, AJ, like me saying to AJ, you think we could do this visualized value look, which is like black and white and super elegant minimalist look? Do you know if we could do that for Naval? And AJ's like, yeah, we can try it. And I asked Nico if he could try and embrace that visualized value look. He's like, oh yeah, I've done 1 million of those. Actually, I teach it to all my students. Like, wait, Nico, you're saying you're a teacher of this? And 2, you've been doing it for like months and months?
Nico, teach us.
So Nico, within like hours, shoots back an edit, which we'll put right here.
Zoop!
It's probably already live and fucking banging on the internet. And it's just sick. It's like the ultimate fucking visualized value. Like,
it's visualized value, which is dope. Go check them out on Twitter.
They're just photos that are like little thought puzzles,
minimalism.
But they're beautiful.
Multiply that by wisdom. 10 or 100.
Because now it's a video.
And you've got Naval's voice behind it.
It's... What's amazing too is Naval has hours and hours and hours and hours of all this audio.
One-liner.
There's no video in this.
Yeah.
Remember, there's no video. So we can take anything. We can go back and take his recorded clubhouses. There's literally infinite content. Granted, he won't want to share that much of it. But it's now this other medium where it's like, we can do any fucking style. And Nico can teach it to anybody. So I'm just so fucking, I'm stoked. We already, there's like a little group chat of.
And we're in the group chat with, yeah, we should talk about that, because we get thrown into this group chat. They're like, all right, guys, thanks for being here, ready to go. We're like, what are we working on?
What is this group chat? It's called Operation Blackbriar.
Right. It's like
from
Jason Bourne reference. We're like, what are we doing here?
Nivi's
in there, obviously. And then there's a bunch of random numbers, and one of them has the 3 letters NAV, N-A-V, next to it. We're like, yeah. And then Nav messages something that's very much like, good work, all. Like, this is an amazing team. And we're like, that's fucking Naval Ravikant. Nav is Naval Ravikant. And then Kant. Easy. I know what you're trying to do to me. How do we get here?
Dude.
How do we get here? And then this morning, Dylan's like, yo, Nivi, by the way, we're doing exactly what visualized value is. We're just animating it. Really nice. Do you think Jack Butcher would be cool with that? And Nibby's like, just ask him. He's in the group.
like
what?
Just
What do you mean? He actually doesn't have a name next to his number.
dude, it's so goofy. It's like so
Jack
many
Butcher's
people.
also a huge inspiration
I know. These
for
are
like clear thinking.
it's like fucking just working with the people you look up to. That's why it's so fun. And hey, let me connect this to something else. All right, we're gonna fucking.
What was the Nivy nonsense?
Oh, I was just like, Nivy sent me like I asked who Jack was, and he's like, oh, this number, and I'm like, gracias, and he's like, duh, lol. I'm like, yes, sir.
DUH?
DUH.
Thank you.
LOL.
Duh.
Who says gracias? Duh, LOL.
That's good.
So
He did first say Jack Butcher in the chat was, well, it's confusing. He put my number. That's confusing.
between
That's
two friends.
that's hard to translate.
yeah, I mean, I could put the screenshot up. Fuck. No, there's no secrecy.
But then
out
everyone's
here.
got my number. Then everyone's got Jack Butcher's number. They probably
There are a
got
lot of
Nivy's number.
numbers. There's a lot of numbers.
A lot of
Like,
important
scratch
numbers.
that.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, our fucking contacts are kind of lit up right now.
It's cool.
Between like Husson, Sax, fucking Nivy,
Hey, we're gonna see Husson on
Naval,
October 1st.
Jack Butcher, Zampar.
I hope we see him.
Who?
Husson.
Oh, Husson. Hell, fuck yeah.
Hell fuck yeah.
Hey, dude. Hey, let me. Oh!
Should we go to Untold?
No, not yet. I got another transition. So I was listening to.
It's not a transition if you qualify it as a transition.
That was my transition. It's a meta transition. I was listening to the Edison podcast.
Hold on.
I'm gonna lose
Right
it.
there. Sorry.
I'm gonna lose it.
Go.
Okay.
Go.
I was listening to the Edison podcast.
Fuck! No!
I got it. I was listening to the Edison podcast. Fucking badass. It's the great what the fuck
Thomas Edison.
what's the podcast called though?
I don't know.
It's a really good. My First Million. Do they give him credit? They don't give him credit.
No, it's their downloads.
It's like how to fucking greatest men of all time. Something. I don't know.
The Wizard of Menlo Park?
No, like what is the podcast called?
Oh.
Well, okay, don't help me out and do research. That's fine. So this amazing podcast. It goes over like the world's greatest leaders. And in this one, it's talking about Thomas Edison, who Henry read a book last year about them or about him.
Thanks for the shout out. Do I need to elaborate on that? Henry read a book one time.
Context.
I appreciate
Always
you.
add context. Never
I
enough.
appreciate you.
Oh, still on my head. Gotta add context. So I'm listening to the podcast this morning on the way here, and yesterday.
No. Watch us on YouTube.
Oh, that was disgusting.
Dylan
God,
just,
I hope that 30 frames can't do slow mo. That just came right out my mouth.
something just came from Dylan. His small something just came out of his small intestine, dribbled onto his face. What the fuck was that?
Hey, we gotta push through. I gotta finish this transition. So Thomas Edison, he's a fucking badass dude. Did you know he was? We could do a whole episode
I'm
on
doing
Thomas
the
Edison.
research. Yeah, he's a badass.
It's hard. Just
It's
look
How
at
to
this-
Take Over the World podcast.
How to Take Over the World. Great podcast. So Edison is like this 3-parter. Just insane dude. He invented everything. I didn't realize, but he invented like the phonograph, I guess.
Yeah.
How the fuck did he invent that? Well, the dude was hard of hearing, and so he would try and like fucking feel vibrations. I forget what he did. But
It was after a midnight dinner, and they were trying to figure out how to make a better diaphragm for the phone, and he just like put his finger to it while it was playing, or while someone was talking through the phone, yelling through the phone. He was like, "Oh, that's vibrating."
Yeah.
If we put a needle to that, if we record
instead of
those
his finger.
vibrations and we put a needle to that, we can read it back.
Right. So he's like, can we take the vibrations and just make that like analog? I don't know. If
Turn
that's
it into
like
solid sound.
right. Just fucking. He just had his little machinist just come and fucking like do the waveform right into a little like CD ass thing, and then
Well, wax paper.
same thing, CD ass thing. Okay, CD baby.
200 years.
So then he
CD baby.
easy NPC. Okay, I'm NPCing myself.
So for those who don't know, NPC is a non-player character.
Anyone trying to follow the trajectory of this podcast,
They need to know.
they're so fucked.
Because the NPC in a video game, the non-player character, you go up to and they just like do this. And they say the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, 5 defaults that they can say. Somehow that was one of them. But
you called me an NPC, then you called yourself Easy NPC for being an NPC, calling me an NPC.
Right.
Don't be an NPC.
So basically this wax paper, they strum it up in like a couple hours and they realize, hey, we just created fucking magic because now we can hear dead people. Because whoever's voice gets recorded, they could die, and now they're there. And what was cool, I tried to explain this, Henry. I don't know why I call you Henry. Belky, I don't know. Yesterday, I told this really poorly. I don't know if it made more sense when you listened.
You just honked the loogie on your chin.
I don't really want to see that in slow-mo. I did. It just dribbled out my mouth. Come on. You got to just keep push forward.
I understand why you want to push through that.
We got it.
But what the fuck was that?
It was stuck. You remember I was trying to get it earlier? I couldn't get it out. And it bothered me.
All right, you were telling me about how Edison's a tinkerer, right? And he wasn't a theoretical scientist.
The point was he invents this phonograph, and they're like, hey, people. They recorded a couple voices, and it was pretty clear. It wasn't like crystal clear MP3, like you're listening now. Does that sound? It wasn't like this, but it was still very audible, very good. And so they'd play it for people that have never heard this shit before. Keep in mind, we're like caveman technology. Like we were just telling stories. That's the only way you can hear people. And so when they play it for people, they're like, hey, what did you just hear? And they're like, I don't fucking know. What the fuck was that?
Sounds out of a box.
Keep in mind, it's just a human sentence. It's like, hey, this is Dylan and I'm from the park. And they're like, I don't know what the fuck I just heard.
You're from the park.
They literally couldn't it was like, it was the English language, but they couldn't piece it together that this machine, a fucking machine, like just cogs and fucking wheels and zoop, wax paper shit.
And what he said in the podcast is like, try and think of something right now that was like such a mind fuck innovation that you could not even comprehend what it was. Like in our lifetime, is there one? Maybe the iPod?
No. Well, what I liked, and I'll finish the thought on this in a second, but what I liked is when Sam Parr talked to him, because he came on the podcast. I don't know what the fuck his name is. It's like 2 first names or something. But he comes on and he's like, what I love about Edison in this particular case is, unlike Jobs, like how far did Jobs push the world forward? Like, the iPhone, someone would have invented a smartphone like the iPhone probably within like 5 or 10 years. It would have gotten there. So he probably pushed the world forward about that amount of time. Meanwhile, Edison, with the phonograph and later the light bulb and basically the electric grid and like all of this fucking crazy shit that he invented throughout his life at Bell Labs?
No, he had his own lab.
What was it called? I know it like merged into GE.
Well, it was Edison General Electric.
Oh, Menlo Park.
Yeah, it might have been his Menlo Park.
I don't know what the fuck the name was. But basically, like that was so, the phonograph in particular was so mind-numbingly crazy that it moved the entire world forward 50 years. He's like, how many people can do that? Actually push all of civilization forward 50 years. That's fucking insane when you think about it. And this dude, all he's doing is just tinkering all day. So basically going back to the phonograph, like people couldn't intuit what it was until they're like, no, that's human voice that's coming out of that. And they're like, oh, you're right. That is human voice. And this is exactly what they said. They just like, they couldn't, it's like, imagine your fucking, I don't know what an analogy would be. It's just like your dog just fucking starts speaking Spanish to you.
You said like a parrot, like you hear a parrot repeat back what someone's saying. If you didn't hear what the English speaker said, you'd kind of be like, what is that parrot saying? It's like, but if someone says Polly want a cracker, and then the parrot's like, Polly want a cracker, you're like, oh, that's exactly what that is.
Right. It's only after the fact.
You just need that qualifier. That
you're just like, I haven't heard that. What the fuck? Whatever. Basically, he blows everyone's mind there, and then like he creates with the like the telephone. He basically creates like the I don't know if it's the repeater or like whatever he does to like amplify the signal, because before it was just
Relay?
shitty quality. Yeah, kind of like a relay. I don't know what the fuck he did, but basically just made telephone communication a lot more viable. He did everything, and the brilliance of him. Hey, this isn't where we're not even to my fucking bullet points yet, but the brilliance of it is he's just some dude from like what the fuck is that restaurant downtown, the Dearborn, Michigan. He's from like Dearborn, Michigan, just a random dude that just grew up being like a scrappy
The
hustler.
restaurant downtown.
Yeah.
There's a restaurant called the Dearborn.
Yeah.
Nice. I thought it was Detroit, but
I mean, it's all the same. I think it's like 2 hours north of Detroit on the island. But he's just like a small town dude. He doesn't have any real intelligence. He's just like an experimenter. He loves just fucking trying different things. And that's how he invented everything. He's like
brute force.
There was no, like, he would get shit on by all these theoretical people that are like, dude, this guy's a clown. He knows nothing. Like, yeah, sure, he invented the fucking light bulb. You're right. And then he's like, no, dude, I did. I just fucking stuck some metal together. And they're like, oh, fuck, you did. And this will last 600 hours. The last one only lasted 4 minutes. And so he's just a beast. And I love that he just shits on like everybody that tries to, it's like the street smarts kid beating out the book smart people. And it's like, it's a really cool story there. Was that connected to anything in any way?
I don't know.
There was
I'm
a transition.
still on the loogie. There was a transition. After all that, we didn't get your transition.
Oh, we got it, baby. Okay, so what did I want to say? One of the things that was crazy overlooked is he invented the word hello.
Oh, yeah. I like that one.
I mean, it used to be like, hello.
Hello. They were trying to figure out like when you pick up the phone, what was going to be the standard message that like everyone would know.
Right.
I just remember hello.
I think it
was going to be one of them.
Alexander Graham Bell that wanted ahoy? Or someone wanted ahoy, which would also be dope. But no one used hello except for like Matty Dick and maybe a couple Brits that were like, oh, hello. Like it was meant for like a surprise. Like, oh, hello. But now everyone, even in Spanish, hello. When you answer the phone, it's like hello. So everyone uses it, and it's because of him. Just he's a fucking beast of a dude. There was something somewhere where that connected to something. We can't rewind the tapes.
No, we can't rewind the tapes. I'm wondering, because I have a couple client-based rants. I'm wondering if we make that a segment within the Smart Nonsense podcast, or we record a separate...
Oh, maybe we do. Let's just stop this one and shoot a separate rant podcast.
Rant pod.
Rantosaurus.
Rantosaurus? So that's it? I'm about to get a burrito.
You want a burrito and then we rant?
Let's spend all this time figuring it out while everyone's listening.
Yeah, let's do a separate rant.
All right, we're going to do a separate rant, which means we got to sign off, which means, do people review or do they subscribe?
I don't care what people do.
Listen,
if
just
you
listen
like this,
somewhere.
Just come around again.
Follow us on Twitter and message us. Say hi.
True. That's what you should do.
Yeah.
All right. See you in 4 minutes. Ah!